Greetings, I, the Warowl, greets you. The Scout is a very special weapon with very special properties. Like the Deagle, it's another cheap but highly effective weapon if you're good enough and you've practiced enough with it. It's actually not a stayer scout, so gun enthusiasts will not be happy. But I don't really care because it's a video game. It only costs $1,700, incredibly cheap for what it can accomplish. You can purchase it on second round CT side after a loss if you get a kill on the first round. That's $1,400 for a loss and then add $300 for the kill. You'll see professional players do this when executing a second round buy after a loss. It's also really great to purchase on the anti-eco side as well. If you're going up against unarmored players, the Scout is a one-hit shot to the tummy. It's always, even with a helmet, a one-hit shot to the head, even at long distances, and the weapon does have good penetration as well. The Scout has a very high movement speed, even when scoped. Anyway, a good way to shoot long and medium range with the Scout is to strafe back and forth, sometimes around corners, scope the weapon, because again, you don't lose the speed, and then fire at the head when changing directions. So when should you no-scope?
That's right, get no-scoped! Get no-scoped!
I went back to the shooting range for this one, so as not to bore you, here are my findings right off the bat. It makes sense to no-scope instead of quick-scope at very close distances, such as the terrorist on the right, but it makes sense to scope on the one on the left, where I only hit about 50% of the shots. When scouting, keep mindful of the enemy's damage. If you know your teammates did half damage to a player, it makes sense to go for a one-hit body shot. This is where game sense comes in, or what I like to call using your brain. The brain knows. So that's a Scout. Pretty awesome, right? But wait, Warowl doesn't clickbait. You clicked on this video for a reason. There's one more property we didn't cover, the majestic nature of jump scouting. The Scout is accurate at the apex of a jump. That means your highest elevation. To the physics! When we throw an object up into the air, or in this case, jump in Counter-Strike, the force of gravity pushing down on the object will cause enough acceleration toward the Earth that at the apex of the ascent, it will actually have a velocity of 0 relative to the Earth. That means that for an instantaneous point, it will be floating pretty much in mid-air. The same thing happens in Counter-Strike. So when you jump in Counter-Strike and you reach the apex of the ascent, that is the moment where you have no movement. But wait, you handsome devil, video games have their own laws of physics. There's a visual indicator that shows the accuracy of the Scout, how blurry the scope is. From this, we can see there are 2 times our shot becomes inaccurate, when jumping and when landing. The reason the Scout is accurate in mid-air is because the inaccuracy caused by jumping fades away very quickly. This also means that your shot is going to be accurate during the entire fall. So it isn't really jump scouting, is it? It's more fall scouting. So don't shoot on the way up, shoot on the way back down. Shooting at the apex just makes it easier since you aren't moving as much at the time. Normally, you should just jump straight into the air. If you strafe while jump scouting, you won't be accurate, unless you counter-strafe in mid-air. This is an incredibly advanced technique, but if you master it, you're going to be called a hacker quite a bit, and that's never not fun. Jump while strafing to go around a corner, then counter-strafe in midair at the apex and land the shot as you start to fall back down. Jump scouting is incredibly useful at many different areas of the map. It almost seems unfair. Like here, or even... Wait, what? Only jump scout when you need to jump to see the enemy player, such as when you're behind a player height cover or the enemy is behind cover. Don't do it when you're just standing out in the open. Pro tip! If you try and jump scout and you miss, you better change positions or at least jump in an unpredictable pattern. I see this mistake quite a bit in my own games. Players will jump scout, miss, then attempt to jump scout again at the same area. I know the frequency in the back of my mind of the jumping, so it's actually really easy for me to just pop them in the head if they go for their second hop. Pro tip over! Like any shooting technique in Counter-Strike, jump scouting takes timing, coordination, practice, and the brains to determine when to use it. Try using a local server and practice shooting at a stationary point. Do it over and over again until you can do it consistently. So now you know the stuff. That's half the battle. Practice, practice, practice. It's the only way to get good. I'm the Warowl and I still have no closer. Alright, for this take, I need you to aim at me beforehand. Yeah, I'm right there. You don't see me?